Welcome to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Jen Josie. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of badassery herself, the real Jen Josie. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Jen Josie, creator of RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. On today's episode, we have a guest that will be sharing their badassery. But before we begin, here's today's badassery bestowment, my little badass gift to you. Today's topic is professional assessments. When you start a new job, many employers require new employees to complete assessments to learn about their skills, knowledge, cognitive ability, emotional intelligence, personality, etc. If you are like many small business owners out there, you may have started your business with a family member or best friend. In my case, my husband Vance is my business partner. Even though I feel like I know Vance better than anyone on this planet, we followed the advice of one of our coaches and took the DISC test and the Core Values Index. It exposed our strengths and weaknesses prior to starting our business, so assigning roles was so much easier. Our coach also had us rate each other on personal competencies. While I thought it was obvious Vance was so skilled at organizing our finances, he never heard me say it. This was a huge boost to his confidence, thus revealing the leadership already inside him. So, whether you are just starting a business with a partner or have been working together for 20 years, it's never too late to defer to the professionals to enrich your business relationship. Now, on to today's episode of the Real Estate Investor Growth Network podcast. We have with us my friend, Trevor B West. Trevor is a God-fearing multifamily real estate investor and live event MC, inspired to design a maximized life on his own terms through God, health, wealth, and relationships. He got his start in leadership and communication as an intelligence analyst in the U.S. Air Force and transferred those skills to start a real estate investment company. His passion is to educate, inspire, and entertain others to live deep and wide through their version of the same. I have personally witnessed Trevor's influence on stage and thrilled to have him here with us today. So welcome to the show, Trevor.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's like having a celebrity on my show, Trevor. I'm telling you.
Maybe in the making.
Were you in that? Were you in Bridgerton? Was that you?
That was me, actually. And I gave it all up so I could come do this podcast.
Well, first, Trevor, I want to thank you for your service. Can't thank service members enough. So thank you very much for your service in the Air Force. So we are talking about your life as an MC, and you are just a whopping 29 years old. And I first saw you on stage in Vegas, and they pulled you up on stage. Did you ask to do a live, or what was that all about?
So the MC at the time, he was a keynote speaker at the last event, and he would do this thing. He would give a little spiel, and then he would have the audience stand up and go crazy when he says, "We buy apartment buildings." So he comes back the next event and he says, "Hey, remember that thing that I did last time? Who wants to do it?" I was like, boom. That's me all day. This is my time. So I went up on stage and pulled out my phone, and just through the magic of preparation and just kind of recording videos online, it just rolled off the tongue, and I did the "We buy apartment buildings," and everybody went crazy. And that was kind of my first real taste of being on the stage, and it felt incredible.
That was what, just a year ago?
Yeah, that was last year.
And Trevor, I got to say, I was one of those audience members that was jumping up and applauding you and everything. And I was so impressed. And it did not surprise me one bit at our next conference, which was not Nashville. Was it Denver?
Denver.
Denver.
Mm-hmm.
And there you were emceeing the event and you just killed it on stage. So how do you get so good at this communication thing? How did you develop this?
Wow. So I feel I say this all the time. God has been preparing me for this all along. I just had no idea. So I feel like I've always had the gift of gab. At least that's what my mom told me when I was growing up. But I had no practiced skill. I hadn't done anything. But when I joined the service, so I was in the Air Force for almost a decade. I was an intelligence analyst, as you mentioned in my introduction. So the main thing that we do as intelligence analysts is we gather information and then we repeat it, whether it's to a general, colonel, or even to our peers. So I got so many repetitions from my time in training when it was literally that, just information, repeat, and going through the gauntlet of instructors hounding you on how you're saying things, why you're saying things. Words mean things, which is something I say all the time from what was instilled in me in those early years. So take those skills that were developed in the military and then while I was in training and then take them to my bases. So Langley Air Force Base was my first base, and that was very boring work. But at the same time, almost every day I was briefing somebody. I was telling them, hey, this is what developed last night, because we would watch terrorist organizations all the way from the Taliban to ISIS to Al Qaeda. So we needed to know everything. And you don't get a note card. If you walk up there with a note card and you're talking to a colonel, they're going to be like, what are you doing? Do you know what you're talking about or do you not? So it was high stress environments. And then taking those skills to my next base when I deployed to Afghanistan, I was the only Air Force person attached to a CIA outfit, and I was their intel guy. And these guys are battle hardened 15, 20, 25-year veterans of the service, of the CIA. And these types of situations are life or death. You needed to know everything. And you need to know it like the back of your hand. You know who the terrorist is, where he's at, where he wakes up, who his friends are, what's the route all the way down there, what's the surrounding area look like, when was the last attack, all these things, right? And I needed to be able to communicate that in a clear and concise manner because you can't overload these people with information before they go out on target to either kill or capture that target. So I just had an absolute mass amount of practice in preparation for this. And then once I got out of the military, I got into real estate, found real estate investing, absolutely transformed my life. And the question I was asked is what's easy for me, but hard for others? And it's speaking. So I would translate that to my social media. So for almost a year, I pulled out my phone and I recorded a video every single day, whether it was about real estate, whether it was about inspiration, motivation, something that I picked up along the way, because like you had mentioned in my introduction, I love inspiring people to live wide and deep, to ask themselves tougher questions. And all of those things were just a culmination of me stepping on stage and really finding out, hey, what is my superpower and how can I use that to influence my sphere? How can I impact people with the things that's easy for me, but difficult for others?
Well, what amazes me about you is your introductions for people are just crazy. Like you name people's kids' names. And I'm like, how is he doing this? And it is so amazing to me. And even it's funny because I've seen you speak on stage 3 times now, and the people who go up on stage are like, oh my gosh, that's the best introduction I've ever had. And it has to do with that power of preparation. So how do you memorize all that? What do you do to be such a great introducer of guest speakers?
Yeah,
introducer?
Introducer. So the way that I do the introducing is, it is really, it boils down to, I'm a lifelong learner. Every person has a story, right? So I love learning about people's stories, people's journeys, and I like learning new information. So it doesn't matter whether it's Pace Morby, like you saw at the last event, or somebody who this is their first time stepping on stage. I get to go in and learn about them. I get to know why they're doing what they're doing. what got them into it, what types of things they went through in order to get where they are. And I just go in and I go deep. So I find as many things online about them as I can. I am taking those skills that I learned in the service about finding terrorists, and I find everything that I can about people.
Well, hold
and then
on.
I just start learning.
You don't even have a conversation with them beforehand?
No.
Oh,
No,
my
this is
goodness.
all research. So I do have conversations with them beforehand,
Okay.
but this is way after the fact. So, for example, Bill Rancic, I had done all the research on him. Bill Rancic, he was the first winner of Donald Trump's The Apprentice, and he's gone on to do a number of different things, mainly restaurateur. He has a chain of restaurants. And so I learned everything about him. I had it in my mind, but then the icing on the cake is when I get to shake somebody's hand and say, hey, ask them a few questions about what's already in my brain. And what happened was I realized that he had more restaurants than I realized and how many employees he had. So I could impromptu add that to my introduction and really add some value to that.
Oh my gosh, that makes my stomach just turn to have to change things at the last minute or add things. It would just throw me off. So I'm just so impressed with you. So listening to you, what kind of tips do you have to help others improve on their communication skills?
Yeah, this is huge. And if I can just preface it with, communication is the number one skill that everybody should be putting their time into, because no matter where you are, no matter who you are communicating at every waking moment,
especially as business owners. All the people listening to this, they are business owners. They are working with sellers daily. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, that's fine.
How can they improve their communication skills, say talking with a seller?
So it all comes down to repetition. And you don't have to immediately start with a seller. You can start in the comfort of your own home. So what I like to do is I take out my phone and I record a video, something that I care about. And I just take out my phone and I say, this is what I'm going to talk about. And I record it. That doesn't mean I have to post it. But what I can do is I can stop that video and I can replay it and I can watch it. How am I saying things? Am I repeating myself? Am I saying, and what do I sound like? Right. So one thing I do after I watch the video, I turn it over and then I just listen. How do I actually sound? Because the one thing this is our first impression. So if you're talking with a seller and you want to come off with confidence and you're saying, hey, Mr. Seller, so my name's Trevor West and I buy real estate. And, I noticed that you might be the owner of 123 Main Street. With those uhs and those ehs and those ums, that guy or gal on the other line is going to be like, this person is not confident. They're not professional. They don't really know what they're doing. They don't have a firm grasp. So slowing things down, taking those pauses and removing all verbal pauses. That's going to be the best way to start improving your communication, because you can tell just now, as I slow things down, you can see where those uhs and those ehs and those ums might be placed, but it's just silence. So that's number one. And then two, a lot of people don't realize this, but being an effective communicator, we probably heard it, but imparting it is different. Listening. We have to listen more than we speak. And what I call the 70-30 rule. We should be listening 70% of the time, and we should be speaking 30% of the time. Because what it boils down to is people like to speak about themselves. We are creatures that care about ourselves. So when somebody gives us an opportunity to speak about the things that we care about, that is going to pay dividends in the communication space. For example, one of the first books I ever read is How to Win Friends and Influence People. Mm-hmm. Many of your listeners have probably read this book, and he tells a story in the book where he goes to a party and he's talking to this woman, where really the woman's talking to him about the time that she went to a zoo. And he just kept asking her question after question after question. He hardly said anything this entire time. So the next day, the host of the party comes to him and says, that lady that you were talking to, she said you were the best conversationalist she's ever talked with. And he said, I hardly said anything. I gave her an opportunity to speak. So it's not always about what we're saying, even though that is huge, but it's also what questions are we asking and how much can we just sit and be with somebody, not thinking about what we're going to eat for lunch, not thinking about what we're going to do tomorrow, not thinking about, oh, maybe there's someone better to talk to, but being present, listening, and taking in that information.
So as I was listening carefully, you were talking about stories and how you like to listen to people's stories. And you have a story that you mentioned in your notes here about breaking your leg. Can I hear about this story?
Absolutely. I love telling this story because it's really my signature story, if you will. It's the story that birthed me, if you will, because simply the person that you're talking to now was not the same person that I was 3 years ago. When I was still in the service, I was living a young man in the military lifestyle. I had 3 really good friends, and they're still my friends to today, but we would drink every weekend. We would party, we would chase chicks, we would do all the stupid things that young people do, really just wasting our lives, wasting my time. Personally, I'll speak for myself instead of for them. But I didn't realize that I was unhappy. It had not occurred to me. I'm an extroverted person. You know that about me, Jen.
Yep.
And anybody who gets to know me knows I love being around people. It's what gives me energy. So I was always around people. I was living with these guys. So every day, a Tuesday night, we're cracking beers. And so we all decided it would be a good idea to join the rugby team. So we joined the rugby team. And rugby is, you want to talk about badassery?
It's brutal.
It is a brutal sport, man. Like, you don't realize when you don't have pads on, it's just you, the mud, and the men.
and some striped shirts.
Some striped shirts, really short shorts. That was my favorite part, to be honest. It was just like booty shorts for the dudes. But it was a good time. So we were playing rugby, and there was one fateful day on the rugby pitch where, of course, I was dominating the other men on the field, just running them over until I eventually got ran over. So I caught the ball and I was running it, and some guy tackled me from behind, and he was holding onto my waist, and I was dragging him until I eventually fell. He fell on my calves. So I was sitting on my knees, and then gargantuan of a human being, he had to be like 6'8", 300 pounds, came and tackled me from the front, snapping me backwards, which snapped my leg. So you heard it. And I look up and I'm like, oh my gosh, my leg was just hanging like a meat hook. So a blessing in disguise, though, because what happened here was it put me on the couch for an extended period of time. And miraculously, all of my roommates deployed pretty much at the same time. So it was just me, my wheelchair, my Netflix account, and some Percocets. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to settle in, have a good time. And after watching about 80 hours of Netflix, you really start to question your reality, especially if you can't walk anywhere. So,
well, especially when they come up on the screen, they say, "Are you still watching?" You're like, "Stop mocking me."
Yes, I'm here. There's like Cheeto crust on your fingers and your mouth. It's like, oh my gosh. Well, my friend had brought me, after I broke my leg, like 100 chicken nuggets from Chick-fil-A. And these things were like 4 days old, but I was still eating them. So maybe that was the catalyst. I'm not sure. But I eventually started realizing that I was really unhappy. And I had zero direction in my life. I had no plan. I was in the military, but was I really enjoying it? Unless I was deployed, really active, like where people's lives were at stake with what I was doing. When I came home, it wasn't the case. And I had just had no motivation to do anything. And I thought, where am I going? What is my plan? What am I going to do? So by being in that place, I started asking myself some tougher questions. And that tougher question was, what are you going to do? And I thought, I need to make a change. So that's what I did. And I thought, okay, everyone in my life that I know that's successful has a college degree. That's what I'm going to do. So I go out. I take a math class. Jen.
We were just trying to do some math right before this episode, so I know where this is going.
I'm not good at math. Turns out I need to cheat. So I'm doing this math course, Pythagorean theorem, first time in 8 years. And I sucked at it then. I sucked at it now. And so I go all the way through. I'm committed. And I get to the final exam and they want to proctor it. So they want to be able, they're going to see my screen. They're going to see everything. And I've been cheating the entire time. So I quit. I said, the next 4 years or anything like this, I'm out. So I thought, okay, what's the next thing? What are we going to do? I'm still taking action. I said, if I can be successful with my money, I can be successful anywhere. So I went on a tear of books, Think and Grow Rich, A Simple Path to Wealth, Accounting 101, just a plethora of books. And of course, your listeners know Rich Dad, Poor Dad, baby.
Yes.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad it filled exactly what I needed. I said, oh my gosh, one, I'm an idiot. I've been real dumb with my finances. I was $20,000 in debt, driving a car I had no business driving. Still going out to the bars, and I cleared all my debt. I changed everything. I started saving money and I started buying real estate. And that's really what led me into taking a step of faith into an area of growth that's uncomfortable and realizing how many opportunities were right in front of me that I never knew. And that's probably my biggest takeaway that I got from Rich Dad, Poor Dad is you'll never see an opportunity if you're not in the frequency, if you're not in tune, if you're not educated enough to be able to see it. And that's why I'm sitting before you now, stepping into being a professional MC, is because I took that leap of faith when I was fearful. And fearful doesn't mean that you're not scared. It means that you're scared, but you move forward anyway.
Wow. And God put you on that sofa for a reason. And I truly believe it. And then he put you on stage, gave you the courage to say, I would like to get up on stage and say, I buy apartments. So you are going down the path that you are meant to go down. And I can't say it enough. I'm so impressed with you. And I would like to just dive just for a couple minutes here into your real estate background, because our listeners, this is a real estate investor growth network.
Absolutely.
And because if there is a listener out there who is needing an MC for an event, which by the way, I have put on several live events, it is not easy to keep it going. And again, you are so good at the introductions and just getting the crowd, together and just motivating everyone. How did you get involved with real estate? Was it through Tim Bratz, or did you do any other education programs?
So yeah, after I snapped my leg, after I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I just went on a tear of real estate books, education, YouTube University. The community college in the town that I was living in actually hosted a online class on real estate investing. So I covered the whole gauntlet of wholesale, short sale, flips, rentals, apartment building.
At a community college?
75 bones. Best $75 ever spent in my life. I was floored. So it laid a really strong foundation. And of course, your listeners probably know, when you get into this space, we hear this all the time. When you drag in your feet, you don't want to get stuck in procrastination. And what is it that I'm thinking of?
The analysis
paralysis, baby. Yes. I was like, man, where is that?
Have you met my husband? That's his thing. He has analysis paralysis. I'm like, just buy it. Let's go.
Yeah, that's right. So I wanted to avoid that at all costs, because I know people, especially in the military, who say, I'm going to do this, and then they never end up doing it. So I wanted to eliminate that from my life. I said, as long as I know that this property will not lose money, I'm going to buy it, because I just analyzed a deal, dozens of deals a day. It didn't matter what it was. Hey, that's a deal. Sure. Pull it off of Zillow. I don't even care what it is. Let me run the numbers, see if it works, get comfortable doing the market analysis, and just rep after rep after rep. Repetition is the mother of all skill. It is. So now, even at this point, I don't personally run deals all the time. My business partner does the majority of that, but I can look at a deal and say, this will make money. or this won't make money, and be able to explain why. Of course, there's a deeper look that needs to happen, but I bought a 3-unit property. I was blessed enough to be able to use my VA loan, which was a 0% down. Anybody who's listening to this that's military, this is a blessing. Take advantage of it. Don't go buy your dream home with a 0% down loan. Go buy a 2, 3, or 4-unit property, live in one or rent out the other ones. One property can change your life, and it certainly changed mine.
Absolutely. So from there, I just want to know how you got involved with Tim Bratz, because that's how I met you. And just for the listeners out there, Tim Bratz runs I'm going to get it wrong, family. I've been in it for a year. So it's, what is it, the name of it?
Family.
Legacy Family. Yeah. And he does Legacy Family Summits. But then what's the online event that he's been doing?
That's Commercial Empire.
Commercial Empire. So listeners out there, Trevor and I can't say enough great things about Tim Bratz. If you want to go back and listen to my episode with Tim, he's episode 101. Phenomenal educator, just a great human being, and has really just, I think, accelerated you to be on the stage and do that. And he believed in you as well. So I did want to give a shout out to him. And so he does commercial, which can be storage units or bowling alleys or whatever. But for Trevor and I, it's for multifamily. And you have, how many doors do you have?
58 doors.
That is awesome. And the reason why I'm bringing all this up is for the listeners out there that are involved in real estate who are thinking about putting an event together. Trevor knows real estate. I have been to so many events where the MC is just a happy face and does not understand our language, our lingo. And Trevor just has his finger on the pulse and just knows what he's doing. I'm just so very, very impressed with you. So Trevor, thank you for sharing everything. And you heard me at the beginning of the podcast do a badassery bestowment. Do you have a little nugget that you can share with the audience?
Absolutely. And it really is just always do your best. Always do your best. When I was talking about that math class,
Pythagorean theorem.
I did my best. I did my best, and I'm not proud that I didn't. Well, actually, I'm glad that I quit, because I know that I did my best, and I realized this isn't for me. This isn't who I am. This is not who God created me to be. So just doing your best. And if it means not finishing what you started, that's okay. We don't have to drive ourselves into the ground out of pride of what other people might think if we end up quitting something that's not meant for us. I learned this at the last Legacy Summit from Audrey Borcherding. She said, what is the best yes that you can give? Is it your best yes, or is it somebody else's best yes? Am I giving my best for me, or am I giving it my best so other people think that I'm doing something? Or is it so I can be validated in the community that I'm in? For the longest time, I was taking orders instead of taking advice. Every person I met who was doing something successfully, I thought, that's it. The way that they're doing it is exactly how I should be doing it. So I would change everything and go for it all in. Where sometimes you just have to, one, take a moment. Just like after I broke my leg, I finally had a moment to myself. And I asked myself, what do you actually want out of life? And start moving towards that. And when you do that, it'll open up doors that you never thought could be open for you. It'll open up opportunities that you couldn't have even dreamed be possible in your life. And God will place people in your life that'll help you get to where you want to go, versus stifling you or distracting you and ultimately keeping you from the greatness that was within you, because simply we all have greatness in us.
You know, Trevor, you are so wise beyond your years. And I actually really am taking to heart it's okay to quit, because I'm literally in a situation right now. When you saw me last week, we were in Puerto Rico together for a conference, and I was not in a good headspace. I am normally like, wee, and I just We have a real estate situation where I have put my heart and soul into this one project, and we're just having difficulties refinancing it. And that's my thing is I want to keep going. I'm a coach, and how can I, fail and do all these things? But it was literally just the day after the conference ended, we just decided we need to sell it. We need to trim the fat. And it's causing so much headaches and heartache, honestly. And I really, truly appreciate you saying it's okay to quit, because now that we have made that decision, a weight's been lifted off my shoulders. And we are now looking at it as we can still make a wonderful profit on the property. The reason why we bought this property was to replace Vance's income. So this was very important to us to make sure that this turned out great. So trying to refinance it, just when a lender is telling you they can't make things work, lender after lender after lender, you need to start paying attention. My good friend Lisa Romano gave me that advice and said, if the lenders are saying this is not going to work, then you need to really listen. So we did decide we're going to sell it. We will we'll still make six figures off it. And that will then fix so many of our other issues going on in real estate. So Trevor, I really, truly appreciate you saying that. And it hit, and forgive me for taking 40% of the, 70-30 rule here to have you speak. But
no, great.
I felt like, you were here today to tell me that, yes, it's okay to quit. So thank you for that, Trevor.
Absolutely.
You are the best.
If I can just add one more, just because it was just on my mind, we have to give ourselves that time and space, because there could be an opportunity. It just literally one moment away. That same situation that you're in, you're going to have something that's going to come across your plate that's way better than what you're working on right now. And a good friend of mine always says, I'll have this or something better. We get so stuck because we put our heart and soul into things. But if we just take that step back, give ourselves that time and space and permission to fail, permission to grow, that it will just open up the world to you.
I appreciate that. And I do truly believe that let's get this out of the way so the next better thing can come into our life. So Trevor, thank you so much. The second part of the podcast is what makes Trevor B West a badass. I think your middle name, the B, stands for badass. I'm just saying. So Trevor Badass West.
Yeah, that's right.
I use the acronym BADASS, and the first letter is B for book. So what's a book that's made a huge difference in your life? You've mentioned a couple here.
I did mention a couple. Of course, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But I wanted to mention something a little different, which was while I was in this phase where I was just making all these new connections in my brain because I wasn't living this way, I read a book called Black Hole Focus by Isaiah Henkel. And the premise of the book is how intelligent people can create a powerful purpose for their life. And he gives actionable steps in the book on, hey, this is how you establish core values for your life. Because you can obviously see that I'm a military guy. It's instilled in me, right? And there's core values in the Air Force that I lived by and I still live by today. But how can I take those core values and create my own, create something that's unique to me? And how can I live by those? Because community is everything. And we are, even if it's just us, we are that community. So when I present myself, when I step into a new area, people are going to think things about me. What is he about? What does he care about? And when I have those core values set, then you're just like Pace Morby said at the last event, your vibe attracts your tribe. You will get like-minded people to you. So having a firm understanding of what it is that your vibe is, it will absolutely change the game. So Black Hole Focus is the book for me.
I am feeling your vibe, so I'm proud to be part of your tribe. That's so funny because I did write those words down as well. As soon as Pace said, I'm like, yes, I love that. All right. The first A in badass is advice. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
So the best piece of advice, this one's twofold. I couldn't choose one, Jen. I'm sorry, because I just couldn't. Because I don't know if the first one's really advice, but it could be in a way. Ever since I was a young man, my dad always said, you're the best. You're the best. And no dad, no mom is completely perfect, right? But no matter what, whenever I think of my father, I think of him telling me I'm the best. And I didn't know what I wanted to be the best in until it took me some sifting till I got to where I'm at right now. So that's the number one thing that I've received from somebody. And then the second part is I got really into Tony Robbins seminars. He was my very first mentor, my true first mentor. And I went through a seminar with him, and I was having some relationship trouble at the time. My fiance currently, she lives in Germany. We've been doing long distance 3.5 years. When I met her in a service, it has just been a absolute beautiful challenge, emphasis on the challenge. And Tony Robbins said something. He said 95% of relationship success comes down to selection. And in my initial reaction was, I've picked the wrong person. I've chosen the wrong partner, right? But then he elaborates and he said, yes, sitting on the edge of my seat now. Then he elaborates and he says, not the person that you select, but the parts of yourself that you select to bring out. Because if I select the best parts of myself that I did when we first got into a relationship, when everything was wonderful, there's a reason for that. Your vibe attracts your tribe. What vibrations you put out are the vibrations you're going to get back. And in that moment, a complete shift of, oh, it's not her. It's not them. It's right here, baby. It's me. And that was the biggest, one of the biggest shifts I've ever had, for sure.
Wow. Oh, and you're still together with her?
I'm still together with her. We should be getting married here in the next, I don't know, 120 days if the visa gets approved. So
really?
Yes.
How exciting.
Very.
All right. So that leads me to the next one here, which is D for drive. What drives Trevor to be successful?
I give all glory to God. All glory to God. Everything that I am, everything that I have is because of him and everything that he's instilled in me. Those gifts, talents, and abilities are not mine, but they're his to enhance his kingdom and bring his kingdom here on earth. So that is my biggest drive. I would be trying to slap God in the face if I didn't step forward with intensity, with vigor, saying I'm unstoppable, I'm unleashed, I'm on this planet to do something very specific. And listeners, especially when I was hearing that, what's my specific thing? Why don't I have one? What's my purpose? If we take meaningful steps forward, we're going to fail. We're going to find things. We're going to have to quit things. We're going to get into a hole that might be challenging for us to get out of. But if we just continue to take steps forward, we will figure that thing out. For 3 years, I was like, oh, is real estate my thing? Or maybe not, or I tried a number of different things. But if I just take steps towards what that purpose is, I'll find it. And then I can really step into who God has told me to be and just say yes to all the things that he's placed in my path.
Well, amen to that. And there is a saying, why is this happening? You should say, why is this instead of why is this happening to me? Why is this happening for me? Am I saying that right? Is it for me?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
That's right.
Yes. And all those things that you have been through and just have led you down this path for you, which is just beginning for you, Trevor. I'm going to be one of those people who'll be like, I knew him when he was on my podcast. All right. The second A in badass is aspiration. I'm a big goal setter. So what is a goal you are currently working on?
I say it's my big, hairy, audacious goal, and it's fairly new. So the emceeing is new for me, but this is what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing. And I want to be the best live event MC that the world has ever seen. I want to crush the stage. And not just for me. The best part about being an MC is I get to illuminate and amplify other people's stories, other people's businesses, and that will in turn bring things back to me. But I don't even care about that. It'll come when it comes. How can I make this memorable for somebody else? So how can I be the best MC? And I want to turn this into $1 million a year business. How can I bring $1 million from being an MC? How can I use that gift to create other avenues of opportunity?
Well, nothing is stopping you, I can tell you. So, moving on here, the first S in badass is for systems. What systems do you have in place to help you achieve success?
So this one's twofold in my mind, which is people, other people. When we hear this all the time and it's a buzzword and it's this or that, it's definitely true, but as long as we're being genuine about it, leveraging other people. I have so many weaknesses, but I can beat my weaknesses with leverage. I'm not the best when it comes to analytics. I'm not the best when it comes to being extremely detail oriented in all the ways necessary. But if I can leverage other people who care about me and I care about them, we can link up, take that leverage to a whole new level. And I don't have to do it all on my own, which is a hard lesson that I've been learning over the last 3 years, trying to buy real estate all on my own. And so just getting out of my comfort zone and finding out what people need and how we can benefit each other. And the second part of that is what I put into my body. What am I feeding myself? My mind, my body, and my spirit. What types of foods am I eating? Am I always eating out, or am I cooking at home, making things with healthy ingredients? Am I drinking every day? That's probably, if you're listening and you're drinking a lot every day, let's go ahead and get that checked out.
You know who you're talking to, right? I am drinking water right now.
Water's good. Water's definitely good. And then, of course, what we're seeing, what we're hearing, what kind of music are we listening to? What are we watching on TV? What types of things are we allowing into our lives? For example, when I was a young boy, my mom loved Lifetime Movie Network. And if you know anything about Lifetime Movie Network, it's always a guy who's trying to hurt a woman, and it might seem like simple entertainment, but that affects us on a level that I still remember today, right? So, and of course, what am I feeding my spirit? Am I getting into the word every day? Am I actually connecting with my creator? Do I have a relationship with my creator, or am I just doing some ritualistic thing that, I can put on social media so people think that I'm spiritual? So all those things, those are the systems and processes in place by having a routine, by forming good habits that are going to allow me to live a long life and live those years feeling good, simply.
Well, I think that's fantastic. To wrap this up, the final S in badass is for success. What does success mean to Trevor Badass West?
I really like that. I'm taking that.
You
and
need
this
to.
B stands.
I'm telling you, get a trademark. You never know when it's going to happen.
I'm going to have it. It's coming for me. It's coming. Success to me is having all the things that I need. And in this moment, I might not be exactly where I want to be in terms of financial success, relationship success, health success, but it's having everything that I need and more that I can share with other people. And I think that we get so lost in what other people have that we feel like we're less if we don't have those things. But no, most of us have everything that we need. And how can we be grateful for that in the moment? And success to me is waking up and being able to say yes, having the option to say yes to what's the best yes for me, not the best yes for other people, and living a life that is deep and wide, not just with myself, but the people that are around me, amplifying them, being amplified, pouring out my cup and having my cup filled, and living a life on who God says I am, who Jesus says that I am versus anything else, because really that's all that matters to me. That's success.
Well, I am so very impressed with you, Trevor, and I appreciate you so much for being on the show. How can people find you when they have their next event and they need a badass MC who is going to do the most amazing introductions of your guests? How do the listeners find you?
So the primary source to find me is probably Instagram. That's where I'm most active, which is at Better Trevor. Just like it sounds, the O in my name is Trevor. And I'm getting a website made currently. It should be up in the next few weeks, which is simply trevorbwest.com. Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, Trevor B West. You can come find me there.
Trevor, it has been such a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Jen. It's always a good time with you.
Always. All right. And that is all. Thanks for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode. Now go out there and share your badassery. And don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you for listening to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josie by visiting therealjenjosie.com or become a member of RAIN by registering on rainmastermind.com.